everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are very excited today to be here with one of our favorite guests, our very first guest that we ever had on the podcast is the great screenwriter Nina Weinman is here. And Nina, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, so now...
It surprised me every time you ask me back. I'm like, you're not sick of me yet?
No. I mean, now Paul had briefly overtaken your reign as the most frequent guest of our podcast, and now you are equal. You both have the same number of visits. So,
aha,
yes,
good. We have to remedy that. He doesn't get to win.
You, Paul Campbell, and Catherine Disher are the
reigning champs.
Yes, the reigning champs of
so honored
podcast.
So honored.
So how have you been? We haven't talked to you since after Christmas, and boy, does that seem like a long time ago.
I know. It's been a year, huh?
Yeah, it sure has.
But I'll tell you this much. I mean, yes, we all were like locked down and production was shut down for months, and we're back up and running now, and I have one in prep for this Christmas right now. But Hallmark didn't miss a beat. They did not slow down at all. It was actually busier during the lockdown and the quarantine because they didn't have movies in production, so they were able to get through their stacks and stacks of stuff they had to read. And they were like, here's notes on this one, here's notes on that one, stuff that had been sitting there that wasn't a priority because it didn't have a season yet, or it wasn't on the schedule. So and then all of a sudden it was like, here's 50,000 notes, go.
Interesting.
Like,
yeah. So
obviously everything is about Christmas right now, and they're starting to focus on first quarter 2021, and then we'll start shooting some of that stuff in the next couple of months. Mm-hmm. So, but it didn't slow down for a minute, and I am beyond thankful. I know a lot of people were experiencing some really major hardships, and it broke my heart that so many people that I know and love and don't know and saw so much suffering that they couldn't work and they wanted to.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't safe. So it's a bummer, but I'm very thankful and do whatever I can to give back because I know how lucky I am, and I will never stop thanking Hallmark for keeping me so busy.
Yeah, I mean, how have you been handling quarantine as far as aside from the work situation? Have you been doing any quarantine baking or anything like that?
We did like the first week, we were like, let's bake cookies when we thought, or let's bake cupcakes when we thought, oh, it's going to be like a couple weeks. And then, after that, it's, we'll go back to life and we'll figure out what to do and get this under control. And then after that, we were just like, okay, just go on the iPad.
Yeah.
Play Fortnite. I mean, my kids are spending a lot of time on the iPad, but since we were homeschooling, we brought in this nanny who is taking care of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so you haven't been doing any kind of quarantine crafts or puzzles or things like that?
We did. We do game night, we do movie night, where we force our kids to watch like our favorite movies from like the 80s and the 90s, and they complain and whine about it. And then they'll sit there and they'll go, this is terrible, during Bill and Ted's, but like,
no,
I want us to turn it off. And they're like, no, they don't want to admit that they like them. But then there are some that they just will not sit through, and it's always a fight. They always want, they just do not, they get kicking and screaming to watch Back to the Future and all these movies. So we'll do movie night. But then my friend was telling me yesterday, no, do this. Everybody gets their pick and you have to watch it. No options. So you just go, tonight's your night, and then your night. So we're going to start doing that, because then I will get rid of a lot of whining.
Yeah.
Well,
and I watch it. It's always good too, because it gets you out of your comfort zone when other people have to do the picks.
Yeah, and they had us watch this movie the other night that we were like, I'm not going to say what it is. It's a kids movie, and we were like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. But okay.
Yeah, it's, I don't
I don't
know.
want to insult anyone, but it was bad. And it was
uh
like a sequel to a kids
oh,
movie. It wasn't an animated, but I was like, this is
uh
really bad.
yeah,
Anyway, we're gonna start like everybody gets their choice, but it's fun. We love that.
yeah.
We make popcorn and we make a fort in the living room, and we have had a lot. Like that's been the
Hmm.
good thing, we try to look for the silver lining in this stuff with our
Yeah,
kids because it's unprecedented and we've never been through anything like this, so it's
yeah,
hard to help
nobody
your
has.
kids navigate it because they're like, when is this going to be over? And you go, I wish I knew.
Yeah,
We've never experienced anything like this. Nobody has. So
yeah,
nobody knows what to say, how to help them through it. So one of the silver linings that we try to find with them is like, look at how much fun we've had together.
yeah,
And we try to do that. We try to have family bonding night and game nights and movie nights. And so that has been an upside of a really terrible
hmm,
situation, is that we've gotten to reconnect with each other in a way that we wouldn't have
yeah.
otherwise.
Well, the first 3 months were really hard for me because I was truly isolated. I mean, thank goodness for the podcast because at least I had that. And because I'd been having some problems feeling short of breath, and that was a because of it ended up that my blood pressure being high was causing my asthma to flare up, and that ended up being the reason. But they were obviously concerned that I, had some symptoms of the coronavirus.
Right.
So I ended up I've been tested 3 times, all times negative,
Yeah.
and but they were nervous, and I didn't want to be around my parents because my dad gets respiratory infections very easily, and
Yeah, it's scary.
my
You don't
mom
want
is
to be
some
the one to give them anything.
yeah, and
You
my
don't.
mom is somewhat compromised. So for basically 3 months, including over Easter, I saw no other humans aside from my basement tenant who would come and go, but didn't really see her. That was really
It's
hard,
really hard.
and I thought that I didn't think it would be so hard because I work from home anyway,
Right.
so I didn't have that change to absorb.
Yeah, but
But
having that freedom taken away from you and the
yeah,
ability to just go to lunch with a friend or something,
hmm,
it's really interesting to see how much we took for granted,
yeah,
that you just never considered how much just going to a park
yeah,
or going to lunch with a friend or just being around other humans, how
yeah,
much we took that for granted.
yeah. And I mean, because I would go to 3, 4 movie screenings a week, and just
Right.
being with other people and being with my fellow critics and my friends and all of that really meant something to me. And then also church. So having both being taken away from me
Right.
was yeah, I didn't realize how much the social interaction I did have
Mm-hmm.
really meant to me and mattered until it was taken away, which is sad.
Right.
Um, but uh, but nevertheless, it was extremely difficult those 3 months. And then finally, once I saw my parents again, it was a moving moment for me. And
Yeah, I'm sure.
um yeah, and I live probably 10 minutes from my parents, maybe not even that. I'm very close to them
Mm-hmm.
in as far as space, but it was easy, I think, to take for granted and be like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, or I don't want to go up the
Right.
mountain or whatever. And but then once it was taken away, you realize how much that means to
You
you. And
need that connection.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so
get it.
it was an intense
It's hard.
experience. And
We
I'm
were always saying, we every night before we put the kids to bed, we sit down and we do prayers and
yeah,
thankfuls. And one of the prayers that we were always sending for the kids was for all the people who are alone,
yeah,
because it's really hard
yeah,
to go through this and to go through this without having that connection. Just, it was so heartbreaking to us.
it,
that
it was a challenging experience, but I mean, I am so grateful for the podcast. If I'd had that and a way to connect with people,
mhm.
I can't imagine how I could have gone through it. But but I've been very blessed in many other. I mean, I'm thankful that I already had a work environment set up where I was already working from home, so that made it.
Right. For my husband and I too, we were saying, we were like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, this is not that different for us. It's just we're not used to our kids being here
right.
all the time.
Yeah,
It's not, we've always worked from home because he has his own business and I'm a writer. And
yeah,
so that wasn't a shock to our system at all. It was just
right.
having the kids here. And, for the first 5 months, it was all on us. We didn't have any help. We were trying to
Yeah.
balance our work and we just were being super careful and really locked down. And
Hmm. So did you have projects that were planned for spring, June brides, summer that got scrapped? Can you tell us that? Or
No, we had already missed the window for June weddings for
uh-huh.
our sequel to The Last Bridesmaid, which
Oh,
we're hoping is going to be next year.
okay.
June, this coming June. We're hoping that that's going to happen. So then they put Paul Campbell in another one in Wedding Every Weekend, and because it wasn't ready in time, and so I didn't have anything that was supposed to go. I just had, my same, get the Christmas movies done because those are still in. There was one that was potentially going to be for summer, but we were waiting on notes and it just didn't happen. So we're hoping that that one is going to happen in the spring. Like I just turned it
Hmm.
in. It just went to the network yesterday, and that's a really fun one called Breakup Boot Camp. And
Uh,
I'm hoping that that one happens for spring. A Valentine's Day movie that I need to rewrite. That's one of the Scholastic books that
oh.
that we think is going to go as well. So, and then my Christmas movie is in prep right now, and I only have one this season, and two that got pushed to next year. And that one starts, I think, on the 8th of September.
Oh.
And it hasn't been announced yet, so I don't know how much I'm allowed to
Yeah.
say about it. I'm really excited about. I've never worked with the actress before, and she's really. I'm excited to work with her.
Uh-huh.
She's one of the Hallmark staples, and she's really good with
Ooh.
comedy. Um, and I think her Christmas movie last year was a drama. I think it was on HMM, and so I'm really excited to have like a good comedic, fun, bubbly kind of actress. So, and
Oh,
then the
that's a lot of
actor,
hints going on
yeah.
there.
And then the actor is somebody I have worked with many, many times, and you guys
Oh,
can probably guess who that is very easily. But I'm sure they're going to announce it soon because it's going into production in a couple of weeks. So they're going to announce it soon.
yeah. Do you think, because they announced that they're going to do the 40 movies again, do you think they can really pull that off?
I think they are. I really
Yeah.
do.
We,
I knowing how much is going on right now, and how completely swamped and overwhelmed they all are trying to get it done. I think they can.
yeah. I mean,
I really
I
do.
think they have
They
the
seem to
Christmas
be making it
magic.
happen.
If they, because when they announced that, I was like, they must be literally working with Santa Claus if they, if they, but it's gonna be. I mean, it's in if they pull that off, that will be incredible.
I think they'll probably all collapse from exhaustion when it's done,
Yeah.
and then they'll have to get right into Christmas 2021. But I think they're doing it. I talked to Randy
Amazing.
Pope last week, who's
Uh-huh.
the one of the heads of programming, and they are moving and shaking. And
Yeah.
I
I
was
mean,
like, I commend you, and I would like to buy you many, many cocktails right now because I'm exhausted for you. But
yeah.
they're getting it done.
I mean, I figure they're going to be filming way later into the season than they typically do. They're going to be making movies in even in November.
They always are.
Yeah.
They really always are,
Yeah.
because some things have to get pushed or for whatever reason. And I think with like the quarantine, um, stuff, they've been having to get
Mm-hmm.
ahead of the curve a little bit so that they can get their actors and actresses up and in quarantine in time, and they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do things back to back. Like I know for Candace's movie, they did the Aurora that got shut down, and then they went straight into her Christmas movie, so it's only one quarantine and then they get it
Mm-hmm. Smart.
done. So I think they're trying to do that with a couple of things, but they are trying to get ahead of the game for next year too. But I think that, you know, it's all Christmas all the time right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked that they ended up announcing that. I mean, I was surprised that they filmed the Wedding Every Weekend the, that they even bothered with a new summer movie at all. And then they have that they are doing some fall movies.
Well, I
And
think because that one was like in prep, it was like ready to go.
Mhm.
It was gonna move forward. And when you've got all of these resources that you've put into place, you don't necessarily want to
Yeah.
scrap it completely and move it to next year. So they had so much already prepped that they could just
Mhm.
kind of roll it over. I mean, they obviously had to make a lot of changes, but they could, it was something that was ready to go, and it
Yeah.
didn't require a lot of prep and
Mhm.
lead time to get it there. So
Do you feel like the writing in the age of COVID has changed? Do you feel like both in the sense of emotionally changed in that we're dealing with all this, but also just practically changed? Like, are you not able to put in as many like group scenes or festivals or things like that? Uh, that are you having to think about things in a new way?
we're writing it as if everything is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then excuse me, once we get to prep, which for my Christmas movie, I have not, we kept it contained as much as we could.
Mm-hmm.
I have not, excuse me, I'm having allergies today. Um, I have not been told that there need to be a lot of changes made to make it more COVID friendly.
Mm-hmm.
That they've now done a few movies, so they've figured out how it's going to work and that they can make it happen. I know I heard that with Wedding Every Weekend that they had some mannequins, and some of the crowd scenes or the wedding scenes were mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they're moving forward with my Christmas movie. It's called Never Kiss a Man in a Christmas Sweater, and it's
Oh
based on
my
a book.
gosh.
And
I'm
there,
looking up that book right now.
it's actually an English, the original version. The English version is Never Kiss a Man in a Christmas Jumper.
Ah,
In a
that
Christmas
sounds really
jumper.
good.
But it's fun. It's really fun. And so I haven't been told that I have to make changes,
Uh-huh.
and they'll tell me.
Yeah.
So far we did keep it relatively contained,
Yeah.
but we still got, classroom full of kids and a group of kids here and a group there, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's,
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
they've worked out, I think they've worked out the kinks, and they
Mhm.
know at this point how to make it work, because
Yeah.
our producer Kim Arnott is probably on her fourth movie post
Mm-hmm.
COVID now, and she's such a pro and she knows what she's doing. So um, we weren't the guinea pig
Mm-hmm.
on mine. We weren't the first one, so they know, they've figured out how to do it.
So they've also been focusing more on diversity,
Yes.
and I was wondering if that's changed any of your been a change to any of your writing at all, or is that kind of all uh, more casting thing, and you haven't really had to deal with that as a writer?
Well, it's interesting that it incidentally, my Valentine's Day, playing Cupid, it's based on a Scholastic book.
Uh-huh.
It's about this single dad and this teacher who falls in love with a single dad. It's like a whole, it's a project. A
Oh,
kid
that sounds
becomes a
cute.
matchmaker, and they have to do a school project. Kid becomes a matchmaker and ends up her father and her teacher in the process kind of
Uh-huh.
fall for each other.
Aw.
Very Hallmark form, but it's a really cute Scholastic movie. And, they did a deal with Scholastic where they're turning these children's books into books that have sort of a double leads in
Yeah,
that
like
the
Bacon.
kids play a big part, but it's also very much a Hallmark movie, and they're delightful to work with. And so that is the daughter and the father are Hispanic, and that was something
Oh.
that happened in the book, and we really leaned into it some more.
Ooh.
And we did that before all of the diversity stuff, because we've been working on this for a while, and before
Mhm.
all of the, we really need to do better, we knew that for a while, and we leaned into it, and I was excited to do it and excited to add some more, more than what was in the book, some more, family tradition
Mhm.
things, and
Mhm.
and lean into the Hispanic culture. And but I am getting notes that on stuff in development too now, that's a little
Mhm.
more like, okay, why don't we make one of the couples in the breakup boot camp an LGBT? She's going through an
Mhm.
LGBT breakup,
Mhm.
and they are very open, very inclusive, and
Mhm.
it's great because
Mhm.
it's something that it's time. It's
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
It's way overdue
Mhm.
to really show, like, this is what the world looks like. And I
Yes.
understand that there are always going to be people who are not for it, and we're not going
Mhm.
to please everyone, but this is real life.
Mhm.
And yes, Hallmark is a bit of a fantasy land, but everybody deserves their representation on
Mhm.
television.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I don't want to be a part of something that would exclude anybody.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and the way I figured is that I just if people are just being happy, you know what I mean? Like it's not even like they're just like I just don't understand how like people being happy isn't like
Is
offensive.
how it could
Just
compromise somebody else's life.
yeah.
I mean, it's like love is love is love, and I don't think that, as far as like family values and things like
Mhm.
that, I have so many wonderful friends who are the
Yeah.
best parents I know. It doesn't, just that
Yeah.
old stereotypical nuclear family, it
Mhm.
just doesn't exist anymore, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's not, a family is not defined by it, they're defined by the love for each other,
Yeah.
and that's
The
that's the
commitment
most
that they
important thing to
made.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just doesn't need to be labeled as this is a family and
Mhm.
that's not, because I know some amazing families
Yeah.
that are not your typical nuclear family, and they're better than some of the nuclear families I know.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I agree. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. They're the good folks over at ModCloth. And at ModCloth, we make getting dressed fun. Back to being independently owned, we're all about perfect fits for every body. Unique, mood-boosting prints, vintage-inspired, versatile styles that make you look good. But more importantly, feel good. Find your joy at ModCloth. And one of the things that impresses me the most about ModCloth is the number of sizes that they have, going all the way up to 4X on some items. And then extra small. And so they really have something for everybody, every size, which is really nice. And also, I really like the prints that they have. There, as I said, they're very vintage inspired. They're unique. They even have some things right now for Halloween, the Happy Hallow Queens sweaters and jewelry and other things. And they have outerwear. We're going to be looking to get for fall, going to be getting a coat. Then you can find something really nice at ModCloth. So it's a great place to go to support and to find a unique style so you don't look like everybody else. To get 20% off your purchase of $75 or more, including sale items, go to modcloth.com. That's modcloth.com and enter code Hallmarkies at checkout. The promo code cannot be combined with other offers. It's a great deal. So go to modcloth.com, enter code Hallmarkies for 20% off your order of $75 or more. Well, and how did you think that they, for Wedding Every Weekend, with them kind of being the first to sort of start this new chapter, how do you think that they did?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was done beautifully. I thought it portrayed a beautiful relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it wasn't done as sort of a, oh, let's throw them in there. They were characters. They were in their lives. We saw them interact. And I thought it was done really well. And I thought it was done delicately. Not that we should be, coddling anybody so that they can accept it. But I felt like how does anybody look at how that was done and go, that's horrible? I just don't get it.
Yeah, me either.
It was done very carefully so that it was easing people in who may have a discomfort with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see how anybody looks at that and goes, I hope that people who maybe did have a discomfort looked at it and went, oh, okay. That's not okay.
It's fine.
Because maybe they just haven't been exposed to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, they're nice, happy people.
Right.
What's the harm?
Just they're two people in love. What is bad about that ever?
Yeah.
And so I hope that, and there are going to be people who are like, I'll never watch Hallmark again. And okay, that's your choice.
Well, but there's also going to be new people who are watching it for the first time.
Yes.
Because, the ratings were great. So I was thrilled by that.
Did not. I really wanted it to do well, to just show the people who are like, you're going to fail, to go, no, that's not how this works.
And this is not a situation of scarcity. Like, you know what I mean? Like if they only made 2 movies a year and one of them was an LGBT story, I guess I could see people being, whatever with that, even though I wouldn't. But no, there's over 100 movies a year. Like this is, everybody can have a movie. Like everybody can have their stories told and we can all enjoy it. And you can watch whichever ones that you want to watch and that look interesting to you. And there we go. There's no scarcity here. Like,
I think there was a misconception from a certain population that Hallmark is for us and Hallmark believes what we believe, because there was a huge deficit in that sort of portrayal. And I think that they believed that Hallmark is one of us. Hallmark is on our side in this fight, so to speak. And I think that they're feeling slighted because that wasn't the case. It was, Hallmark is very inclusive, and knowing the company and the corporate culture, they have a lot of employees from all walks of life, and they are a really wonderful company to work for. And I know from my experience in them trying to branch out with the Hanukkah movie last year, that we were so embraced in that. And I just think that they knew it was time, and these people are feeling slighted, and they were wrong. Hallmark is not all about it, we follow the Bible. It's just some people do, but that's not the edict for their programming.
Yeah. Well, and you look something like When Calls the Heart, they haven't had a pastor on When Calls the Heart in multiple seasons. It is not a religious show. It's not faith-based at all. Like none of the characters aren't praying. There's not worship services ever shown, hardly at all.
Was there a feeling that When Calls the Heart was a Christian show? Because I've heard
people say that, and I always respond, no, it's not. at all. It is not a faith-based program. I mean, I would say that something like, say, the Waltons or even Little House on the Prairie was more faith-based than One Calls the Heart. And it's just that it has the sort of appearance of wholesomeness. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it doesn't have any an edge to it.
Yeah, it's not a faith-based show. Like I said, there is literally not even been a pastor in the town for multiple seasons.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's an adjustment. People are kind of figuring it out and what's going on.
Right.
And I'm here for it. I am really curious to see what is going to be happening with all these new projects, new films for the holidays. We have new leadership, the CEO.
Yeah. Which we're all kind of wondering, how's that going to go? I hear really good things about her from people that I know in that have worked at, was it
one network,
TV1,
and then PBS.
So I know a couple people who had worked over there. I hear great things about her, so I'm really excited to see where this goes. But from what I understand, she's like, listen, I you guys know how to do what you do best. She's not here to upset the apple cart, to turn Hallmark into, the CW or anything. She's there to expand the brand, not reinvent it.
Yeah.
And that is great because it works.
Right. Yeah.
But there was work to be done, and they're doing it. And I'm really proud to be a part of that because it was time.
Yeah, we are too. All right. Well, I thought it would be fun for this interview, because we have had you on so many times, that I did a little rom-com questionnaire to end.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah. This is my first time doing this set of questions. So
okay. We'll get through it together.
Yes, that's right. The first question I have is, what would you say is an underrated romantic movie? Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a comedy, that you wish more people saw, that you like.
Underrated romantic movie. I mean, the ones that I love are pretty popular, but there's like 10 Things I Hate About You, I think is such a great, it's more of a teen rom-com, but I love that movie. It's one of those that I could watch every time. And I don't know if that's as popular as, say, like Bridget Jones' Diary or any of those, but I would say that's maybe an underrated one.
Do you have a favorite romance novelist that you like, her books?
There is a writer that I really love, and I actually, her movie is now on Netflix, and I tried to sell this movie years ago. Her name's Catherine Senner, and she wrote this book called The Lost Husband, and I absolutely loved it, and I wanted to do it at Hallmark. I think I pitched it to Hall of Fame initially, and they did not pick it up when they were separate, but she just writes these really beautiful romances.
Cool.
And she has another one that Carly Pope and I were like, oh, we need to get this movie made. Another one called Happiness for Beginners. And she's just a great, great writer.
That's cool. Good. All right. What is your favorite trope, romantic trope, to either write or watch, or like the fake fiance, or the enemies to lovers, or the BFF stuck in the same?
I like going back in time. I like and I haven't really been able to do it in Hallmark movies, but I like I love flashing back to people's awkward stages. Like I like going back and seeing how people developed and changed, and I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to do it too much, but I am next Christmas. I have one that's very fun, and it follows a different narrative, and I'm super excited to write it.
You do have it in Pumpkin Pie Wars. You got the before, and then it zooms forward.
Yeah.
To at least that's the one that came to mind first. Very good. Okay. Is there a trope that you think's that's not your favorite that you're like, oh,
like as far as a moment goes,
yeah.
And it more than an actual concept. When somebody like falls off a ladder and falls into a guy. I cannot stand that. And it's funny because that moment is in Pumpkin Pie Wars, and I did not write it in. That was something that happened on set, and I didn't write it in there, but it was one of those things that I was just like, no, we don't do that.
I kind of think it's hilarious, I have to say, but it can be done badly. But yeah, the movie Fall, where it's just Alicia Witt is the queen of this in her movies, where she's like to people, and
But I do love a clumsy, like, and it's one thing that there's something in the Hallmark movies that they do always have to be like poised and perfect, and we don't always get to do this, but I do like a clumsy, like, I love to write a character that, you know, that you can embarrass them.
Yeah.
Like do things that are embarrassing, like tripping and falling in front of the guy you like, or things like that. Like that kind of stuff is really fun. And, you know, again, we're able to change our storytelling methods a little bit with Hallmark right now, because what Randy had told me is people, you know, there's a lot more competition out there. And so we have to find a way to be different and to not always look like it's the same movie over and over and over again.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah,
and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I'm a tough sell when it comes to I call them Save the Farm movies, whether it's Save the Bookstore, Save the Farm, because most of the time there's no stakes. I don't believe for a second that this store / farm / whatever is really going out of business. And
right.
It's like everything else has to be charming enough and pleasant enough in order for it to work. But that one usually isn't the best. And it's like people are trying to be You've Got Mail, and I'm like, the difference between You've Got Mail and all these stories is that the store actually closes and You've Got Mail. There's actually stakes. She loses something. And she has to deal with it and become a better person. And so I don't know, that's not my favorite usually. And some of the party planning, it can be done well. I liked Double Holiday. I thought that because it was enough that they had enough other stuff that they were getting to know each other. Because sometimes with the party planning movies, it can be all work. And so there's not really enough time for them to be intimate because they're at work. And so it ends up just feeling like, why am I watching these people plan this party? This is boring.
And I'm a little bit over the party planning movie too, because I've just done it so much. And so that's where my Christmas, my 2 that I have for next year, neither of them goes there. And I'm so happy about that. And I'm so happy that it gets to be just a little bit different. And they want to shake up the narrative a little bit. And so one of them is a very When Harry Met Sally type about these 2 best friends in 3 different stages of their lives. And it still very much unfolds like a romantic comedy, but we get to follow them through different stages in their lives. And
that sounds good.
Passage of time and time jumps and things like that. And it's really, really fun.
This is exciting. I'm really
excited too that they're really letting us think outside the box. It's all very much on brand still. It's still a Hallmark movie. It's just a Hallmark movie with a different way to tell the story. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because it's exciting. It doesn't feel like it's the same movie I've written over and over again.
So if you could write in another genre than the one that you write in, what would you pick?
Young adult.
Oh,
young
okay.
adult.
Like fantasy young adult, or?
No, like Gossip Girl
Oh,
and like
okay.
that kind of stuff. Not
Okay.
I guess you would consider that young adult, you know, like that kind
Okay.
of
Yeah.
I wouldn't even consider it tween, but you know, I have such the sensibility that I am perpetually like a 19-year-old girl, and I always will be. And even younger stuff, like my daughter is trying to get me to watch Babysitter's Club with
Oh, it's
her,
so
and
good.
I'm like, let's do it, because
Yeah.
we watched High School Musical, the series together, and we
Oh,
had so
so
much
good
fun
too.
watching this stuff together. And because I am always like Glee and that kind of stuff, like
Mhm.
I am a perpetual teenage girl, and I love writing that kind of stuff. I would love to do that. I also do like, I have a couple of things that I've written over the years that are features because they're a little dirtier.
Sure.
And, you know, R-rated comedies. Like I like to do that kind of stuff
Uh-huh.
too. I like to write any kind of, I don't think that I'm necessarily a sci-fi person. I would not ever be writing a sci-fi. Or something really super dark. It's not in my sensibilities because I love to have fun, but I do like a dark comedy.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that I do too. So, if have you ever had a character in a movie, either your own or another one, that reminds you of yourself?
So I guess I guess this would be a character in a movie. It's I am like, I see so much of myself in the characters that Tina Fey writes
Oh,
for
okay.
herself.
Yeah.
Like being like, you know, everything's about food and about, you know, and always like making mistakes and embarrassing yourself at the worst possible time and things like that, and being sort of the whipping boy. And like I always see myself in these characters that Tina Fey writes for herself. So I would
Yeah.
say that, like, probably more Liz Lemon than which is her 30 Rock
Mm-hmm.
character, than her character in Mean Girls, but very much so, like, just I so identify with her. I'm like, I look at her and I'm like, I feel seen, you know.
Okay. What part of a Hallmark Christmas would you most want in your own life? The cookie baking sequence, or the Christmas decorating sequence, or the town festival, or
I because I was raised Jewish,
mm-hmm.
And I didn't get Christmas, the one thing that I absolutely love is, like, through the eyes of my kids now, is I just love the Christmas morning. I
Mm-hmm.
love waking up early, and we got to do it here last year, and we're probably doing it here again. We usually go to Pennsylvania and spend it with my husband's family, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. They all came out last year, and I got to throw Christmas, which I loved. I had so much fun. I got into it. I bought everybody matching Christmas pajamas. I like decorated my whole house. I had, because we're not so good
Mm-hmm.
at do-it-yourself stuff, I had people come and hang lights all around the outside of my house. And I got super into it. And that to me is just like that fun family celebration and that Christmas morning. I love doing that through my children's eyes now because I never got to do it. It's a little different with Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
we do Hanukkah too. And my kids enjoy that and have a blast, and you know, they get a lot of presents, but we do this charity thing now because it's just too much presents. But I love the Christmas morning, coming, presents under the tree, eating a big breakfast. That to me is just what it's all about with my family.
That's awesome.
And I'm
All right.
probably going to do it again this year because
Yeah.
I don't know that we're going to be able to go back east. I don't know if we're going to be able to travel. You know,
Right.
it's a bummer because
I
we haven't seen
know.
Will's family in a year. Well, since Christmas.
I know. Two of my sisters actually live in England, and just before the quarantine, I submitted my my application for a passport because I was thinking of maybe possibly going, and I just wanted to have my everything ready to go. And then
Yeah.
it just finally came, like a week or 2 weeks ago in the mail. Like, well, now that I can't travel.
Well, that's useless. No, it will last for 10 years. You'll get there. You'll
So
get there.
hopefully-
We had just renewed our kids' passports in January because we were supposed to go to Mexico over spring break. We had plans with our friends. We travel with these family friends of ours every vacation we go together, and the kids are all friends and school together.
Yeah.
And we got their passports renewed, and then we went on lockdown, and we were supposed to go in April, and obviously that didn't happen.
So hopefully,
but we were like, okay, they last for a really long time.
Yeah, so I'm hopeful that that in 2021 I'll be able to go and see them.
Yeah, I
That's
think
one of my goals.
I'm hopeful that we'll be back to some semblance. I mean, we might be wearing masks for a while, but some semblance of normal by like this time next year is what I'm hopeful for. But who knows? They're making such great strides in vaccines and treatments, and so I feel like when you've got every single brilliant mind on the planet working on this, of course it's gonna happen a little faster than usual. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah, me too. All right. So what is your favorite season to write besides Christmas?
I love the wedding movies. It's hard to come up with something new, but because there's only so many kinds of weddings, but I seem to always find one. And this was the first year in 5 years I haven't had a wedding movie. And I mean, nobody had a wedding movie this last June, but but mine wasn't ready and in time, and so they had selected some other ones, and I'm hopeful that we'll get to do it for next June. But I do love the wedding movies. They're just so much fun to write. They're so much fun to shoot. They make me happy.
Do you have a favorite classic romantic movie? Like Roman Holiday?
Jane Eyre.
Jane Eyre, okay.
Jane Eyre, yeah. Jane Eyre is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite version?
A movie version?
Yeah.
I don't. I have a hard time when I really love a book with movie versions, because I always say it's like I have this vision in my head of what it looks like, and then the director's vision, then it all of a sudden now it belongs to him, and I don't want to, or her, and I don't want to change the vision in my head sometimes with the classics, with the classics. I'm okay with like Hunger Games or something like that, because it's like, okay, whatever, what's it going to look like? But with like Jane Eyre and I don't know, I just don't. I want to keep the image in my head.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Well, very good. That's my questions. I appreciate you taking time to share your thoughts with us. And this
anytime.
It was really interesting.
I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to be now tied with Paul Campbell.
Yes. So we'll have to do another interview at Christmas, and
Paul and I will need to come on together next time.
Yes. That's a smart idea. Although that won't break the tie. That'll just make it equal.
Right. Because I'm not going to let him steal this away from me now. We're tied.
Right. I feel like Catherine Disher know. Maybe she'll want to sneak in.
We'll do the three of us. I don't know her, but I think she's fantastic.
That's right.
We'll do the three of us then.
Well, very good. This has been super interesting and fun. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
I'm so happy to. Anytime. Thank you for having me on and for not being sick of me.
And good luck. Good luck with the new Christmas movie and everything else going on. Keep us posted.
I surely will.
And
as soon as it's announced, I will post about it. The cast. I mean, I think everybody's gonna find out soon enough because it starts soon. So there's like no secrets in filming land.
Yeah. And so let us know if you're listening, what you think about all the different things that we talked about. And do you want to share your social media and all that fun stuff?
My Twitter is NIBWE, or I think you can find me under Nina Weinman Swift.
Oh, okay, good. And you can find
and my Instagram too, Nina Weinman Swift.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. We'll have all that in the description section. Make sure you guys follow Nina, and you can follow me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. It helps us so much. And if you're listening on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which we have so much fun with, and we are doing our watch along, our patron watch along this month with Nina. This is so exciting. We are going to be watching Pumpkin Pie Wars to get us in the fall spirit. And we'll have a date coming up. We're not sure on that quite yet, but just something to look forward to. So check out, it's any level patron can join in the patron watch along, only $2 a month to support the podcast and get some fun perks along the way. And we also have our merch store, which has tons of fun Hallmark inspired and other movie inspired merch. So check that out as well. And thanks again, Nina. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.